The Cut magazine has published an article written by this super hot model, Emily Ratajkowski, about her post-breakup, divorce dating life. And it is in many ways a very personal, very raw, and honest story about reclaiming her self-worth and self-image, coping without unprocessed feelings during a marriage, and basically building a new life as a single mom after her divorce. And this article obviously evoked many reactions. When a woman describes her dating life in a very open and honest, sometimes maybe too honest manner, people cannot stand it. So let's dive in today into this article to see what was this text really about. But before we start, my name is Veronica and welcome to my channel. Here I talk about life, culture, and modern love. If you like it, hit the subscribe button and give a like to this video. So first part, we definitely need to talk about the motherhood. Motherhood, in general, is the hardest job you can do. I know what I'm talking about from personal experience. I have a toddler, and God sees, it's not an easy one. However, it is an insanely rewarding experience. But this ambiguity is what usually never is spoke about. It is very popular now to demonize motherhood. Make fun of stay-at-home moms, roll your eyes when the baby's crying in public. Let's get real. You have been one, if you like rolling your eyes in public for crying baby, just remind you, you have been one of those crying little creatures too. And by rolling your eyes now in the body of adult, you just confirm the fact that mentally you are still in the breastfeeding period. Okay? Kids cry because they cannot talk. You roll your eyes because you lack basic empathy and maturity. Sorry to break it for you. But another side of the motherhood spectrum is obviously socially more acceptable, is when motherhood is being idealized. This does not do any good to the mothers either. Motherhood is not a walk in the park. It is mentally and physically very demanding work. You should take care of another human who is completely dependent on you. And you do not get a break. Never. Meantime, you also expected to have another job, be nice and beautiful to your husband or partner, and whatnot. And any complaints you might have will be perceived by society and even by your closest people sometimes as a threat to the system. This is universal motherhood experience. And this is just very high level of a motherhood spectrum. In reality, most of us operate in between, which makes it even harder to describe or justify your feelings or your emotions or your physical and emotional state. How come you're tired? You don't love your baby? Or this and another question you get this and another questions you get the moment you just try to explain your day, the moment you just try to explain your day-to-day life. Keep in mind, your childless friends rarely will be able to understand you as well. So you as a woman kind of trapped. But here is a twist. You can be even more trapped if your partner or husband is not on your side in this game. From the outside, obviously there is a union of two people who take care of each other together, building the family. But in many cases, they are not together. Quite the opposite. So instead of managing herself and a child, often a woman is left with another area where she needs to provide an emotional support and sometimes physical connection, not sometimes, but like in most of the cases, physical connection to her partner. And keep in mind, she also has to navigate through major body changes. There is a psychological term called matrescence, the birth of a mother. It's a transition as radical as adolescence, where your body, your brain, and your entire identity completely shifts. But the day you give birth, the world stops looking at you and only looks at your baby. This is actually very interesting. Emily described her experience, how she was giving birth, how everything has changed for her. Like it's quite a short part of an article, but you can clearly see nobody thought of her as a new mother, but everyone was caring about the newborn. So actually, this is a reality for many women. No one asks where you went as a woman. You are expected to instantly know how to navigate this brand new version of yourself while you grieving the woman you used to be. So if you feel lost, it's not your fault. It's not because you're a bad mom. It's because in a way you are a newborn too. But many women never get the chance to hear it and never get the chance to experience any support in the situation. And this is exactly what Emily describes in a very open manner. When her son was 1.5 years old, her marriage collapsed. And prior to this separation, their sexual life has stopped 6 months or a year before that. Most of us have this image that beautiful, rich, and famous people do not deal with the problems like we peasants do. In what world would you assume that the young, exceptionally beautiful, and like super hot looking model like Emily Ratajkowski might struggle with the feeling of being unwanted? It even like it doesn't make sense, right? But it happens. So in this devastating combination of feelings, being undesirable, feeling alone, and also at the same time responsible for a toddler, it's a very hard situation to be in. And it's a very often one for women. And in our culture, or frankly, in many, many cultures, being a single mother has always been perceived as a burden, as a failure. Like something horribly bad happened, and now you ruined your life by having a child. This idea is a direct contradiction to how European culture perceives human life. On one hand, we are so humanitarian that every life is important and we save everyone. On the other, a woman who brought a literal new human being, new soul to this world, we judge, pity, and look down at. I mean, there should be some consistency in thinking, right? Like the math doesn't add up. And this fear of being a single mom is actually one of the biggest fears Emily describes in this article. And that's from the very early childhood, she knew that she never should become a single mom. That was to her and many, many other women, many, many countries, mean end of our freedom, power, and ultimately leads to a ruined life. It is a common approach to single motherhood, which in reality, in many, many ways, is untrue. Life with the wrong man can be ruined way easier and way faster, whether you have kids or not. And the world knows plenty of examples like this. There's one great passage in the article where she kind of ruins this myth. She says, divorced single mom, what about instead a woman who needs nothing from men? I already had the kid, and the motherhood experience So many of my friends secretly coveted while pretending to date casually. I had no illusions about the romance of marriage or a shared life together. I had learned the hard way that being alone was better than most partnerships. I had seen too much, discovered what many women do only when they get divorced in their mid 40s. I had lived through the failure of a unit, yet I was barely into my 30s. This was my villain origin story. So, first of all, this is a great passage. This is where she exactly confirms that whatever the myth about single motherhood and demonization of it is actually untrue. And I find it quite ironic that this is what she calls villain origin story. But she actually describes a very normal womanhood development. She indeed does not need anything from men because she is already a mother. And you can disagree, but I know so many women who want exactly this from men, a child. And so many relationships break up because of that. Also, experience of marriage and divorce teaches you a lot. Whatever ideas of romance you had, they disappear quite fast after living with someone for a longer period of time. So again, you learn a lot about the process itself, another person, and most importantly, yourself. I wouldn't call it a villain origin story, rather woman origin, like this feminine woman origin. And this freaks out everyone. Woman who knows herself, woman who does what she wants, men, women, many of them will be insulted just by the idea of such a woman. And Emily is owning it. And frankly, all of us should do too. My favorite moment of the article was where she described her, and frankly, not only her, idea of female duality. Like, there are good girls who are taking care and being treated tenderly, and there are sluts, the opposite group of these angels. That is what you hear as a little girl, like from very young age. I have a Substack piece about the origin of this phenomenon, at least like my take on that. So go check it out. I'll link in the description below. And subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. First of all, this duality is completely made up. No man ever would have thought of this absolute of himself, and that he has only two choices. Neither must women. You can and will eventually combine different experiences in your life, and one doesn't cancel another. The only thing you need to be prepared for is that people around you will try to gaslight you into believing whatever they scared about. It's their fears, not yours, not everyone else there, their own pathetic fears. So don't buy this. This is and this is where I find the beauty of this text. Emily describes and dismantles her own myth, something she used to truly believe in, and she shows and she sees in her life that they are just untrue. They're just way more accepting and generous than you think. I intentionally will not comment on overly physiological parts of the article. In my opinion, they do not contribute to the point of the essay. They are there to rage bait conservatives all over the world, and it worked. Frankly, it worked. I offer you to look at this text as a lesson on how all these right life pathways aren't actually right. And that the most important part is to know yourself and be able to follow what you actually believe is best for you, not to capture yourself into this mythology which has been created ages before you just to control women. We always, like, as women, we always try to accommodate someone else. We always in doubt, always believe that the sacrifice will be rewarded. It won't. It won't. So this article is not a villain origin story. It is a story of what a woman looks like once when she has got nothing left she needs from men. And yeah, that's always going to scare somebody. This is pretty much it from me today. And if you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave your comment in this comment section below. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think? Have you read the article? Or you think it's just soft corn? Maybe, maybe not. See you in the next video, and thanks for watching.